Chapter 12, the Book of Path to Enlightenment. Insight, meditation on the mind. Chittanupassana. Chitte chittanupassī viharati. Ātāpi sampajāno satimā vinayya loke abhijjā domanassanti. Observing the true nature of the mind by exerting great effort, wisdom and mindfulness without any desire or conflict in the mind. In the previous chapters, we studied the true or absolute nature of the body. In this chapter, we will study the true or absolute nature of the mind, known as Chitta. What is thing called mind? We know that the body, when separated from the mind, is lifeless or inanimate. Then it is the mind that helps the body to move and act. Lord Buddha compared the mind to a bull that is pulling a cart. When the bull is tied to the cart and it walks, the cart can move. If you separate the bull and the cart, then the cart cannot move. The deed or action which helps to move the body is called the mind. The mind does not have a shape. It is associated with the body, and it is an action. What is this action which helps the body to move or act? A dead body doesn't have a mind. When you cut a dead body, it does not feel pain, but a living being will feel pain if you cut the body. If this feeling is not there, it is said to be a dead body. This is the difference between a person who is alive and a dead person who cannot see, hear, smell, taste, feel, or remember. The power of knowing or understanding is a function of the mind. How many ways of understanding are there? There are 6 ways of seeing. This sensing, knowing and understanding is unique to each individual person. The external object is sensed, known and understood by oneself. When you have the ability to know about external objects' activities, it means that you have a mind. The 6 ways of sensing, knowing or understanding about the external world. Those are seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, body feeling, remembering. These are the 6 actions performed by the mind. Although your life you perform these 6 actions repeatedly, living is a continuous practice of these 6 actions. Mind does not travel from one sense organ to another. Mind arises due to another mind. We think that we are doing all the actions ourselves, but it is just the result of the arising mind. Seeing is a feeling or knowing created by the mind. It is created immediately when you feel something. When you feel something, you know that it is an action of the mind. Mind is an action that occurs when there is contact with external objects. Due to repeated usage, remembrance come into mind. All minds are activated due to repeated usage. It is instantaneous and it happens only at the moment of occurring. Being mindful of the mind is developing the mind by observing the mind and its contents. What is mind? It is sensing or knowing. We can now inspect that sensing or knowing that we refer to as the mind. Now we may practice this mindfulness on the mind. So you have to clearly understand that sensing ability is the mind, not the sense base or the organ. So we'll start like this. Close your eyes. Now you cannot see anything. Now open your eyes. Now seeing an object is an action of the mind. When you close your eyes, you cannot see. Mind is no longer present in the eye. So when you see a picture or see a color, just think mind occurs at the eyes. Then move your attention to the ears. Listen to the sound. Hearing the sound is an action of the mind. It is no longer there after the action of hearing ends. When you hear something, at that instant think hearing mind occurs at the ears. Now move your attention to your nose. Take a deep breath and see something can be smelled. If you smell something with your nose, that smelling is an action of the mind. It is no longer there after you smell it. So when the smelling happens, at that instant, think smelling mind occurs at the nose. Then move your attention to the tongue. Take some saliva in your mouth. You get the subtle flavor of the saliva at that moment. Tasting is an action of the mind. It is not there after you finish tasting. In that instant, think tasting mind occurs at the tongue. Now move the attention to your body. Feel something touching your body. That feeling is an action of the mind. It is no longer there after the touching ends. So at that instant, think body feeling mind occurs at the body. Now make the attention to your brain. Say something that can you be remembered. When you remember something, remembering is an act of the mind. After that act ends, it is no longer there. So at that instant, think remembering mind occurs at the brain. Then now open your eyes again, and in that instant, when you see a picture, think seeing mind occurs at the eyes. And close your eyes. That mind is no longer present in the eyes. So go on practicing the 6 actions of the mind until I say let the concentration declines. So you have to keep on practicing. Move on with attention to all the sense organs, each at a time. Move to each and every sense organ and make sure you are getting a mind created in the sense organ. let the concentration declines. Now slowly open your eyes. This reflection is called meditating on the various actions or functions of the mind. Chittanupassana Bhavana. You can do this meditation anytime, any place, whenever you are involved in your daily activities. You can identify and distinguish the 6 actions of the mind. There is no specific body posture. You can do in any position. Now let us consider what is the consciousness. A Buddhist is a person who has understood the real nature of both mind and matter. We will investigate the mind further to observe the details of the actions and functions of the mind. A person cannot hear after death. He still has an ear, and external sounds are present, but he cannot hear. The sound waves can travel into the dead body's ears, but the hearing is not possible. Similarly, if you touch the dead person, hand, it does not feel. This applies to all 6 actions performed by the mind in the 6 sense organs. They are all no longer possible. As we discussed in the previous chapter, we know that body is an illusion created by the 8 pure primary properties or elements of matter. Objects are also created by the 8 pure primary properties or elements. These 8 elements cannot create an action of knowing or feeling in the 6 sense bases. There has to be some other factor creating the action of knowing or feeling. This factor is known as consciousness or vijnana. Vijnana is a set of actions. We cannot call it as an object, property, element, or a thing. It is an invisible, intangible, instantaneous set of actions. It appears when the causes that are required for consciousness to arise are present, and disappears when the causes and that are required for its existence are no longer there. We have to investigate how this consciousness or set of actions that result in seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, body feeling, and remembering comes into being. We must have a functioning eye. A color or image should come in contact with the eye, and consciousness should get together with the eye, and the image then at that moment a mind or action of seeing occurs. We must have a functioning ear. A sound should come into contact with the ear, and consciousness should get together with the ear. And sound, then at the moment a mind or action of hearing occurs. We must have a functioning nose, and smell should come in contact with the nose, and consciousness should get together with the nose and smell. Then at the moment a mind or action of smelling occurs. We must have a functioning tongue. A flavor should come in contact with the tongue, and consciousness should get together with the tongue and flavor. Then at the moment a mind or action of tasting occurs. We must have a functioning body. An object or touch should come in contact with the body, and consciousness should get together with the touch and sensation. Then at the moment a mind or action of feeling occurs. We must have a functioning brain. A thought should come in contact with the brain, and consciousness should get together with the thought and brain. Then at the moment a mind or action of remembering occurs. What do we mean when we say that the sense organs should be functioning? Each of the sense organ requires what the Buddha referred to as a pasada rupa, or an attracting area, or we can say it as a sensitiveness area to function. If we don't have this special attracting area in the 6 sense organs, then a mind or seeing, hearing, tasting, body feeling, remembering will not appear. This attracting area, known as pasada rupa, is also made up of the 8 pure primary elements or properties, but they cannot be touched or physically identified. The appropriate attracting area comes into being at the same time as when the actions of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, body feeling, remembering occurs. It is one of the set of actions of the consciousness. If the attracting area gets damaged or is not functioning due to the administrating of anesthesia, then a mind will not occur. If a person who born with a damaged attracting area in his eyes, we say that he or she is blind, because they will not be able to see. Similarly, if a person is born with damaged attracting area in his ear, then we say that he or she is deaf. The pasada rupa, attracting area, and consciousness is named based on the sense organ that is operates in a given moment. When it functions in the eye, it known as chakku pasada and chakku viññāna. In the ear as sota pasada and sota viññāna. in the nose as Ghana Pasada and Ghana Vinyana, in the tongue as Jivha Pasada and Jivha Vinyana, in the body as Kaya Pasada and Kaya Vinyana, in the brain as Vatu Pasada and Mano Vinyana. When a person is unconscious or in a deep sleep, the person's consciousness would not be functioning in any of the attracting areas. At this time, it rests in the middle of the brain in a certain spot known as the Bhavanga Chitta. This Bhavanga Chitta generates the karma power that determines the re-becoming or rebirth. When a person dies, consciousness will no longer act in the body. It passes away and arises instantly in another body according to the karma power, and then acts in that body as newborn creature. This consciousness is referred to as rebirth consciousness, Pati Sandhi Vinyana. Even though it seems as if there are many consciousnesses operating simultaneously in more than one sense organ at any given time, in reality there is only one consciousness that functions at a given moment. This one consciousness appears and disappears, swiftly creating an illusion of many consciousnesses in a single person's body. When it functions in a particular sense organ, then it is named based on the appropriate organ. Only one sensing, such as seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, body sensing, remembering, can be generated in a person at a given moment. Because of the extremely fast pace of forming and ending of the consciousness, we feel as if we are capable of seeing more than one mind or action of seeing, hearing, smelling occurs at a given moment. This is an illusion. Never can more than one action or seeing arise at the same time. This consciousness appears and disappears at the various attracting areas at unbelievable speed. No one other than the Buddha can ever investigate the speed of its functions. In just 1/1,000,000th of a second, it can appear and disappear many times over to create seeing, remembering, hearing, etc. The Lord Buddha used very deep concentration and mindfulness to investigate and identify the reality of the consciousness. We will now test our knowledge by practicing the following meditation. Open your eyes and look. You know that the action of seeing has occurred in the mind. Then think how seeing arises in the mind. When the eye, image and consciousness come together, then seeing occurs. A bell is ringing. You know that the action of hearing has occurred in the mind. Then think how hearing arises. When the ear, sound and consciousness comes together, then hearing mind occurs. A stick of instant is lit. You know that the action of smelling has occurred in the mind. Then think how smelling arises. When the nose, smell and consciousness comes together, the smelling mind occurs. A candy is placed in your mouth. You know that the action of tasting has occurred in the mind. Then think how tasting arises. When the tongue, flavor and consciousness comes together, tasting mind occurs. The wind touches your body. You know that the action of feeling has occurred in the mind. Then think how feeling arises. When the body, tactile sensation and consciousness comes together, then body feeling occurs. A thought arises. You know that the actions of remembering has occurred in the mind. Then think how remembering arises. When the brain, thoughts and consciousness comes together, the remembering occurs. We have to clearly identify there are three objects or three things come together to create a single mind. One is sense organ and relevant external object. The consciousness comes together and creates the relevant mind. Continue to practice these 6 actions of the mind till I say let the state of mind comes down or let the concentration declines. You have to keep on feeling one of each sense bases, and when you feel it, think it as a mind occurs and understand how that mind has been generated. Internal sense organ, external object and the consciousness, those 3 comes together and develops the relevant mind in that moment. let the concentration declines. Now slowly open your eyes. You can do this meditation at any time, in any place, whenever you are involved in your daily activities. You can totally identify and distinguish the 6 actions of the mind.